The night in Japan was unlike any other. Under the bright lights of an MMA arena, thousands of fans waited in anticipation, chanting, clapping, and roaring with excitement. They knew they were about to witness something rare, a clash not just of fighters, but of two completely different worlds. Bob Sapp, the Beast from the USA, was a name etched in the annals of combat sports. Towering, massive, and known for his raw power, Sapp had fought legends across MMA and kickboxing. He wasn't just a fighter. He was a spectacle, a giant whose very presence sent shockwaves through any arena he stepped into. His story was one of highs and lows. From K1 heroics to MMA wars, he had given the world unforgettable moments. Tonight, he stood once again as a warrior ready for battle. Across the cage stood Osunaarashi Kintaro, a man whose story was unlike any other. Born Abdulrahman Shalan in Egypt, he had made history as the first professional sumo wrestler from his nation. Known as the Great Sandstorm, he had carried his nation's pride into the sacred Japanese world of sumo and made waves with his incredible strength and warrior spirit. Now, stepping into MMA, he brought with him not just physical power, but the heart of a man who had defied the odds at every stage of his journey. The crowd could feel the tension. America's beast against Egypt's storm. Power against power. Legacy against destiny. It wasn't just a fight. It was a cultural collision, a showdown of giants. As the cage door shut, silence fell, and the storm was about to begin. The referee signaled and the fight began. The roar of the crowd turned into a thunderous wave of sound as these two giants moved toward each other. Bob Sapp, with his massive frame, immediately took the center, his eyes locked on his opponent. He was known for explosive starts, and everyone expected fireworks. But Osunaarashi did not back down. The Egyptian stood tall, showing no fear, circling, waiting for the right moment. His sumo background meant he understood balance, footwork, and explosive forward charges, skills that translated perfectly to an MMA clash. Sapp threw the first heavy jab, his gloves echoing through the arena as they cut the air. Osunaarashi absorbed the moment, studying, measuring, and then suddenly unleashed a powerful charge, driving his shoulder into Sapp's chest like a sumo takiai. The crowd erupted. For a brief moment, Sapp staggered, surprised by the sheer force, but the beast was not easily moved. He roared back, clinching up, his massive arms wrapping around Osunaarashi like steel cables. The cage rattled as these two titans pushed and pulled, testing not just strength, but willpower. Every grunt, every strike, carried the weight of nations watching. By the end of the opening moments, it was clear. This was no ordinary fight. It was a battle of raw physicality, strategy, and heart. The storm had met the beast, and neither would bow. Sweat flew through the air as fists and forearms collided. Sapp began to use his experience, mixing jabs and heavy hooks, trying to overwhelm Osunaarashi with his size and striking. Each punch from Sapp was like a hammer blow, and the crowd gasped every time they landed. But Osunaarashi was relentless. Drawing from his sumo foundation, he charged again and again, closing distance, forcing Sapp to fight in tight spaces. His pushes and body control shocked many fans. He wasn't just surviving. He was imposing himself. At one point, Osunaarashi pinned Sapp against the cage, unleashing a flurry of body shots that echoed like drums of war. The beast roared in defiance, lifting his massive arms to shove his opponent back, and then responded with a brutal overhand right that made the arena shake. The crowd could hardly sit still. They were witnessing something surreal, two giants colliding with primal fury, neither willing to give ground. Momentum shifted back and forth, as if destiny itself couldn't decide who would claim victory. This wasn't just MMA anymore. It was a spectacle, a clash of cultures, and a raw display of humanity's most ancient instinct, the will to conquer. By the later stages, fatigue began to creep in. Both men were drenched in sweat, their chests heaving as they struggled to maintain pace. The audience knew this was now more than strength. It was about heart. Bob Sapp, battle-hardened from years in combat sports, tried to summon his trademark explosiveness. He launched heavy punches, each one designed to end the fight. But Osunaarashi absorbed the blows, his face determined, his will unshaken. He returned fire with thundering slams and close-range strikes, proving his warrior spirit. In one breathtaking exchange, Sapp landed a crushing hook that seemed to rattle the Egyptian. The crowd gasped, sensing the end. But like a sandstorm rising from the desert, Osunaarashi fought back, surging forward, driving Sapp into the cage with sheer force. The roar of the arena was deafening. Fans were on their feet, witnessing two men who refused to break. The final moments were chaos. Both warriors, drained yet unyielding, gave everything they had left. The crowd, a sea of flags and flashing lights, chanted both names in unison. There was no hatred here, only respect for two men who had left their souls in the cage. When the fight ended, it didn't matter who had their hand raised. What mattered was the spectacle, the courage, the story. Bob Sapp had once again proven why he was a legend of combat sports, a man who always brought drama and heart to the arena. Osunaarashi, the Egyptian trailblazer, showed the world that his journey from sumo rings to MMA cages was no accident. He was a warrior, and this was his calling. The fight became more than sport. It became a story of giants, of nations, of respect. And as the crowd roared, history was written.